The appointed time has arrived. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of RRHA Board of Commissioners for July order. We do have a quorum physically here present, but Commissioner Pitchford is participating virtually, so we'll need a motion to allow her to participate.
Over, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there a second? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So,
Mr. Chairman, she also has to stay watch.
yes.
First of all,
Commissioner Pitchford, if you can hear us, could you please tell us whether you're on personal or health reasons for not participating? Okay. We'll get her when she comes back. I think she's having some technical difficulties. Mr. Martin, did you have council comments, or do we still need to read those?
do that. Present for.
Gotcha. So we had the meeting minutes for the June 21st meeting, which I was not present at. I apologize again for not being at that meeting. Hopefully you've all had a chance to take a look at those. If there are any changes or concerns with the minutes, please let us know. If not, I'll accept the motion to approve minutes.
So moved.
Your second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from the June 2023 meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Pitchford. Commissioner Pitchford, if you could just let us know if you are not attending tonight because of personal or health reasons.
Personal.
That's good. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, we are up to our citizen comment period. We have one person who has signed up to share with us tonight, Gwendolyn Harris. Ms. Harris, are you either in the room or here virtually? I do not see Ms. Harris, so if she arrives later, we will give her an opportunity. If anybody sees her pop up, please let me know. That brings it to my updates. The only update that I have for you all is I need to apologize to everybody. I have not been devoting the time that I need to this organization. Work has been busy, and I've been missing a lot of committee meetings. I'm very sorry for that, and I do intend to spend more of my time in those committee meetings and being physically present if I possibly can. But I appreciate all of the hard work that the chairs of those committees are doing, all the hard work members of those committees are doing. Because those committees really are the workhouses for this organization and where the bulk of the work gets done. So I do appreciate that work, and I want to apologize to everyone for having missed all of it. But I believe those are the only updates that I have. So with that, I will turn things over to our CEO, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a number of items here. Actually, I reduced some other items I took away when you and I went over it because I didn't want to make the meeting longer. So I deferred a couple of items for our next full board meeting. The goal here is to get through these bullet points and then get to the last bullet point, which is much more substantive, and that's our long presentation. I'll first turn it over to Charles Williams to give the lease enforcement update.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to give you guys the lease enforcement update. We are continuing to move forward with our lease enforcement activities. Since lease enforcement activities have resumed, our numbers are as follows. As of June 2023, there were 1,613 residents with a balance of $51 or more, leaving a total of a little over $2 million owed. There have been 1,916 late notices issued, which is the first step in the lease enforcement process. There have been 131 unlawful detainers issued. That's when we've taken our residents to civil court, and 42 residents have been evicted or vacated. 729 families are on the repayment agreement. And of that 729 families, 165 families have defaulted. A default is when a resident misses 2 consecutive payments, and that will put them back in the lease enforcement process.
Thanks for the juice.
We have been very intentional and respectful to our residents' plight, and have provided various tools to assist them in preventing evictions. During the upcoming months, there will be an uptick in evictions as we have reinstated our normal process. RRHA has thousands of applicants on the waiting list, and I am sure they would appreciate the opportunity to have some affordable housing. For residents who are not lease compliant, we will move forward with lease enforcement as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
Charles, if we have, I think you said 700, who is this on repayment agreement? 700 residents on the repayment agreement?
729.
Well, if they've come in and they've done that, why do we keep them on the same list with the 1,000 or so that we have worked out? But
They would come off. They would come off that.
so that would take it down to 1,000 something. I mean, that's
No. So
It's additive, so it's like 2,300.
correct.
so they've already come off.
Yes. The families that are on the repayment agreement, they come off that total number.
And the total number is 2,000 or something.
No, we had 1,613 as of June 30th.
So my understanding is the 729 are no longer considered delinquent. But
Correct.
they are on repayment, so they have back rent that they still owe.
Correct.
But they're not included in that 1,600.
Correct.
Any other questions? Yeah, Commissioner Lewis.
Yes, Mr. Williams, I have one question. In terms of the collection process, the collection agencies use it all in-house.
Currently it's all in-house, but we do work with an outside legal agency to help us with that lease enforcement activity.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Parker, yes.
Okay. Mr. Williams, you weren't here at our last meeting. Ms. Green was here at our last meeting, and one of the residents here at our meeting, and she had some concerns, and she addressed those concerns. I guess she followed through with those, and the CEO asked her to have something to report on that. Is there anything at the table we can talk about now about that particular lady that was in distress?
Not sure who that resident was, but I can find out.
If I may, Mr. So I think, yes. But the concern that you brought up, the individual, if you recall, I canceled my plans and went directly to that senior site. And I made sure personally that those concerns were taken care of. I'll talk with you about it later on. But and I said that I was going to hold staff accountable, actually, because it didn't make sense to me, what I saw. I'll talk to you about that sidebar, but I took care of it, and it will never happen again. And I'll talk to you about it. Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Just one quick question. I know that we announced our homeownership program last week. I believe it was great. Hope everybody got to see the coverage of that. It was really fun. And I believe that program requires that you have 2 years of good rental history. Are we advertising that to our residents so that they know that that's part of this homeownership program, so that they can start getting their affairs corrected now? Maybe it's additional.
Yes. In fact, that's one of our big items down
Okay.
here. I'll talk to that.
Great.
What we're doing with our program.
Awesome.
Yeah. The next item is our 4th annual open house in the Village Scholarship Banquet. Angela Fountain, you ready to present on that?
I am. Can everybody hear me? Yes? Okay. So I am really excited about our 4th annual Open House in the Village scholarship event. It is taking place next Thursday, the 27th at the Virginia Union University Living and Learning Center. And this is our fourth year. And basically, what this program does, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is we basically take it, it is for public housing college-bound students, those students that are graduating from high school, that have been accepted to a four-year college or university, that live in our public housing communities or our voucher communities. And we bring them together, and we basically provide all of the items that they need for college. So for their dorm rooms, we put a little bit of money in their pocket, and it's just a great event. This year we have more students than we have ever had. We have a total of 15 students that are that will be celebrating on next Thursday at 6 o'clock at the VUU Living and Learning Center. And so I hope all of our wonderful commissioners will be present at that wonderful event. And I'm going to just let Wanda Daniels, who is actually one of the main coordinators of that event, talk a little bit about the students that we are going to be honoring. Wanda is our program manager in our resident services division. Wanda?
Thank you, Angela. Good evening, everyone. I am Wanda Daniels, program manager. This is my favorite time of year. So what we have 15 students, and Priscilla's going to start our presentation. So this is what our celebration looks like. This is one of the pictures from that trunk is filled with everything you would ever need for college. We also have our graduate page on our website. So if you'd like to donate, we will take any money that you would like to give, online, checks, mail if you want to give me cash. And we're going to start with Lamika Harris. Now, Lamika, one of the interesting things about her is the valedictorian. She has a 4.91 GPA that she graduated. Every class she takes, 18. She was also a college graduate before she graduated high school. She has an associate's degree from J. Sargent. So she's going to be going to OU.
I thought it was illegal to tell the names of people who are receiving government benefits. Ain't that illegal? Aren't you supposed to like redact their names? How they saying in a public meeting that these people are on public assistance? In a public meeting. They wild. Oh.
Personality and a beautiful smile. The next person is Serenity. Serenity graduated from Trinity Episcopal, another one of those 3.67, 3.77 GPAs, I think, for her. She's going to go to junior college initially and study human services. She wants to work in social services. The next person after that is Mari Everhart. Mari is from Wickham Court. He's going to be attending Virginia State University on a football scholarship. We have 5 of our students are actually going to be going to Virginia State University. Sports management is English. Deja Richardson is from Fairfield Court. Our second Trinity Episcopal graduate going to Murray Baldwin College, pre-med major, 3.95 average at Trinity Episcopal. Very quiet, very shy, hardworking. We have Cheyenne Davis from Mosby Court, graduated from Crystal Ray. She's also going to Murray Baldwin College. She's very animated, if you can't tell by this picture, and she's going to be studying theater. So it's very appropriate for her. Wonderful personality, very, very personable. And she's a little lady, but she's got big energy. Tayshawn Williams from Hillside Court, George Witt graduate, going to Virginia State University. He is actually a scholar athlete, and he's a twin. They are fraternal twins, look nothing alike. And he's going to be attending Virginia State University. His first choice was Fort Union to play football, but he doesn't want to graduate into debt, so we're not doing student loans. We'll have Jasmine Tillery is our next young lady from Mosby Court. St. Catherine's graduate as well. She's going to Hampton University. She's going to major in science. So last year, her sister won the Vacato Scholarship, and so is she this year. We have Palmer Harding from Wickham Court, Armstrong graduate. She's going to Norfolk State University and study psychology. She is also big, pretty smile, very nice person, young lady, very communicative. She's always answering my text messages. And we have Jarlene Crenshaw. She's an HCB, her parents actually are HCB. Northwest High School. She's going to be attending Virginia State University, studying health, wellness, and physical education. She's also one of our interns for the summer. More than a big personality, she's a clown. If you couldn't tell by that smile, she really is. And then we have Alexis Smith, another intern from Gilpin Court. She's a Thomas Jefferson graduate. She's undecided, Virginia State or Richard Blanche, not sure yet, but she wants to be a registered nurse. Very nice, very personable, working with our kids and with our resident services coordinators. And then we have Amari Wilson from Hillside Court, another George Wythe graduate. She's going to be going to Virginia State University studying art and design. Another personable young lady. And if you ever meet her mother, you can see why she's very personal. She's done very good, and she's dedicated to her children, and she would do anything for her kids. She made sure she finished and she was going to college. Naheem Arrington is from Gilpin Court, Thomas Jefferson High School, and he's going to be going to Virginia University. He's unsure of his major. He has several things on his mind, but he hasn't decided on one yet. So he's still working towards that. He also does not like to share pictures. It's the cap. And our final will be coming up with Deshaun Baker from Gilpin Court, also Thomas Jefferson graduate. He's going to Virginia Union, and he's also unsure. He wants to be a basketball star. He is a basketball player, but he's not sure what he wants to study at Virginia Union. So for all of them, between them, Lamika, for instance, was accepted into 15 colleges. Taylor was accepted into 8. Jasmine only wanted to go to 2, so she got into her first choice. Actually, she got into both. So we have a lot of brilliance in our community. Scholarships that they received from Energy got them into the private schools. That's how St. Catherine's and Trinity Episcopal came up, because they did so well at Energy, they earned the scholarships. Anybody have any questions about our wonderful young people?
Mr. Chairman, if I may. Yes, sir. I want to bring some of these young folks around. Just really, really, really fascinating. See them, intellect, proud. These are public health kids. You know, I want to give a shout out to our staff. Our staff actually donate, $10, $25, $50. I'm going to make a substantial donation. I know the Shilling Hill Christian, my president, interim, did as well. I encourage the board members to make small donations as well. But it's just a fascinating program. Before you leave, I want you to also mention about the CEO Youth Academy. I lobbied Dominion Energy. Dominion Energy now is going to give money. I don't know if you want to talk about that stuck instead, but I got Dominion Energy through President Ed Bain. Didn't know, met him when I went to the inner city trip. He's an African American president of Dominion. So Dominion Energy now is a first time sponsor of RRHA. And they're going to be doing a mentoring. They're going to be mentoring some of their executives. I don't know if you want to do that, Stuckey. Okay, Wanda, if you talk a little bit about that, please.
Yes, you stole my thunder a little bit. But yes, Dominion Energy is going to be donating everything that goes in the company, including laptops. So what they will be doing is paying into the school bookstore for the kids to go in and select a laptop and pick that up. So altogether, it's a little over $10,000 for my calculation for all 15 students. They're going to be a platinum sponsor. We're going to have them come to the village event. So there are 10 employees. Their senior vice president for communications and engagement is also going to be on the team. So he's on the program. He's coming as well. We're going to have 10 of their employees come, and they're going to set up a mentoring. We've got a schedule right now for mentorship and a meet and greet for the kids with the employees. That's going to be from the 1st to the 3rd of August, if we can corral them in. Because one of the things about our kids is, yes, they're busy, but they all work. They work part-time. They go to school. They have all kinds of activities are unbelievable. I'm exhausted reading some of these things. Lamika, for instance, is the captain of the volleyball team, the president of volleyball, some other club. She's valedictorian. She tutors. She does all kinds of things with her peers at school as well. So they're very busy, and we're trying to schedule around them so that they can go in, meet, and greet. And if nothing else, they'll meet them at the event because 14 out of the 15 are coming to the village celebration.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if it's out of place, but I'd certainly like to give them a round of applause because I'm excited about what they've done and what they're doing in their future. So I just think we just ought to give them a round of applause with me here tonight.
Staff work very hard. You know, job fairs, we've gone to their schools, packed them down. So the staff has worked very hard to gather everybody in. So it's a wonderful thing. What I'd also like to do, since I have attention, is we want to reestablish a scholarship program here. So I'd like the board to give us about $25,000. So then next year, we don't have to worry about some of our kids not having enough money for school or having to borrow money and graduate into debt. That's the goal, is to be able to go to school without having to graduate and pay off your salary into student loan debt. So that's my request. I would appreciate it. In addition to the personal donations, we take those too. I take cash, check, credit card, whatever you have.
But budget season is upcoming, so
There you go. It is the season of giving for me all year long. We're going to start with tours. We're going to start with college tours. We're going to start earlier, and we're going to start with some of the younger kids, because if we can get them at an age where we can get them interested, then we're not going to have to run around and try to get them to go to college. They're going to want that. So that's the goal. Start with the juniors and then sophomores as well.
Commissioner Lewis? Oh, Commissioner Blunt, sorry. I'm sorry.
While you're there, I have been telling people about the RRHA scholarship, but then I just heard the Facebook and I started it up. Had it stopped?
Ralph will explain that to you.
Okay, because I gave a donation and I thought I was giving to the RRHA scholarship. Maybe it was the village that I gave to.
Well,
now I don't know.
It's kind of the village and scholarship together. We
Okay.
had, remember, this tomorrow's promise, and that went away. And Ralph will tell you about that later. So we don't have a designated scholarship right now. The best that we're doing is everybody gets a $500 gift card that they can take with them to school. So whatever they don't have in the trunk, which is unlikely that they're missing much,
Right.
but they'll have this $500 that they want, or clothes. Someone went to JMU last year, so she needed boots and a coat. No. Anybody else have any questions or money they want to direct?
Commissioner Lewis.
Yes.
I don't really have a question, but really more just a statement. I know my president, Dr. Wilkins, is very committed to RRHA and other things. So on behalf of the Junior Union and Dr. Wilkins, we could donate 5,000.
Keep talking to someone. I'm available anytime. Yeah.
Get to kind of match some funds or get some of our students even more money?
Funny you should say that, because Lamika won the NARO scholarship. She's the highest score of it. So she won the NARO, and Taylor was third. So
Great.
2 out of the top 3 were our students. Yes, our
There's
kids
another report.
performed well.
If they got it from now.
They did wonderfully in their interviews for Lockedo. We won 7 out of the 8 scholarships at Lockedo. We got 4 out of 6, 4 out of 8 this year. I mean, we probably could have gotten more if we could have gotten 4 kids. So our kids are very exemplary. They're always commenting on how well they are. We don't prepare them. We just gather them up and we let them do the talking. That's just how prepared they are.
Can you just repeat the information again on the ceremony is? Location?
When is the village?
The village celebration is Thursday the 27th at the Virginia Union Learning Center. And it's from 6 to 8:30. Any other questions or cash?
I don't have a question. I'll be giving cash again
Yeah.
this year.
You're on my list, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I want to make it, I don't want us to really look at our students as they are exemplary. We lack resources.
That's the difference between us and some of our counterparts, our cultural counterparts. We're smart. We just need resources. So let's continue with the money. Thank you, Greg. I won't be doing 5,000, but we just need resources. And it's always been the toughest thing. So I'm like, don't give a horse water, you can't run.
And the good thing is, Lamika and Jasmine both receive full academic scholarships for him. So they have nothing that they have to pay other than the incident.
Hampton will come off the money. So,
And so they've got various other scholarships, but of course, it's never enough to cover. Particularly when you live in our environment, it's not like your parents right check or whatever. So that's why this is so important for them.
we'll get you some money.
Well, I'm leaving with 5 right now, and I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Nesbitt, before you continue, just full courtesy, just mentioned in my ear, Commissioner Brody, is this your first meeting with us?
Yeah.
I missed our meeting last month, so I welcomed you when you got here, but I just want to say on behalf of the board, welcome. We're excited to have you here. I don't know if you got to introduce yourself at the last meeting. Say a little bit about yourself. Get to know you.
Okay, I'm Diana Brody. I'm a resident of Fairfield Court. I have 6 children, 3 boys, 3 girls, one of which will graduate next year. I have my oldest son is autistic. He's graduating from Franklin right now. He holds a 4.4 GPA. As a commissioner, everybody keep asking me what I want to do. I want to bridge the gap in communication between the residents, all the councils. A lot of people in neighborhoods feel no one in housing cares. So I just want to try to change that to let them know it's boards of people, it's tons of people that care. And if once they learn that, then maybe we can just stop arguing, like going to run off at some time, everybody else. I just want to try to close the communication gap.
Thank you.
No problem.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry to disrupt there. Go.
No, that was appropriate. The next item on the agenda is funding that we were able to receive from the state attorney general's office here in Virginia, which is I'll let Stucky talk about it, but it's part of larger funding that we're going to be announcing later on, probably next month, around our package of hope jobs and bringing back the security force for our Big 6 community. But we focus on this with the state attorney general.
Yes, good evening, everyone. So yes, we competed. We actually applied for some monies from the state attorney general's office for Gilpin Court. They actually had a competitive application grant for programs, prevention programs and activities for the community. So we were able to receive $130,000 in that competitive round. I think we probably were the largest recipient for that round, along with some other partners who will be providing some resources and services for the families in Gilpin Court. So we're excited about that, coupling that with some of the programs and activities that we actually, that you'll hear more about today, to provide as Commissioner talked about opportunities. That's one of the things that we need for our families is opportunities and resources that children and families generally don't receive from lower income neighborhoods. So we're really excited about that. We have some funding in there for security at the Calhoun Center. We also have some funding and some programs and opportunities for the youth, as well as some employment opportunities for our residents. So we're really excited about the potential, what that's going to do, layered with some of the other programs and activities that we currently have taking place in the community.
I just add, Mr. Chairman, that Attorney General has also pledged, I think it's about $200,000 for crisis intervention, which will be part of what we're going to do. We're not going to bring back the security force, and we want to try to prevent our young people and adults from interacting with the security or the police to begin with. So we're also, they pledged, we're bringing in a group that does crisis intervention for our youth and our adults. We thought the Big 6. We'll be announcing some more, but that's additional money we'll be getting later. The next item is, this is a big one, right? The next item. This is one that we all should be proud about.
facilities.
Faced roadblocks in the past. Today, the Richmond Redevelopment and Housing Authority revealed a program designed to lower barriers for purchasing. On your side, Benjamin Blake is explaining how this could help increase your chance of getting your own home. This initiative is basically revamping the RRHA
just to look like they're doing something.
program to help more people own their own home without having to jump through the hoops of a credit check or even closing costs.
Pathways to opportunity and hope for public housing residents to obtain home ownership.
He always got that same suit on.
Wealth creation.
RRHA is partnering with multiple businesses and organizations to make it easier for people living in public housing or families with low income to qualify for a mortgage.
This initiative is one that's going to sustain us.
Nesmith says while they hope to see an immediate impact, this effort is also about creating affordable housing for future generations. And it's a need that he personally relates to.
I grew up in public housing.
He always gonna tell you that.
I grew up on welfare. And guess what?
God.
I'm proud of those two things. Because but for those
Proud of it.
I wouldn't be who I am today.
What does
So
that
how does
mean?
it work? In this program, they will consider how consistently you pay your rent on time instead of your credit score.
It doesn't even have to be before the 5th. As long as you pay the rent in the month that it is due to be.
Well, I guess that's yeah, that's cool. Didn't want to hear the rest of that fluff stuff anyway. Okay, y'all can move on. I don't, it ain't working. Move on. Oh my God, is it really that serious? Yeah, I'm tripping. How long are they about to? What? They really about to sit here and wait for it to finish buffering? Just sit here quiet. What are y'all doing? Yo, goofy. Why did you say, oh, okay, well, let's move on to the next topic? Okay, hear that.
Maine HUD certified.
Oh, they're talking. We can't even hear them. What's going on? Oh, what they talking about? Something they don't want us to hear. Uh,
Maine HUD certified housing.
Oh, they was like, yeah, they did. See,
Maine HUD certified housing council is going to be
that's crazy.
Southside Community Development Corporation. They're going to be our main HUD certified housing counselor, but we're going to be bringing on home and some others. But there's the one that we're going to enter into a contract with to do most of it as well.
Dang, ain't no telling what they was just saying.
I can start sweating and get sweet, but this is a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. Congratulations to everyone who put this together because it's very exciting. It's something that, what I said, something that our residents have been asking us for. It's something that this board has been asking for enough long as you and I have been on there.
Like 8 years.
So it's exciting. It's exciting that we can include our residents and it goes beyond the housing first voucher program. And actually, the chief of staff, Ms. Joseph, wrote the rule for HUD or for FHA to allow this to happen. So she was very excited. Also, a Richmond, not Richmond native, but she was Richmond transplant from Hampton Roads. So she said anything we need, she'd always have to take the drive back down to Richmond to help us out. So it's very exciting, and I think we'll get some national attention from some other housing authorities.
Yep.
No, you can't hear nothing they saying. That's crazy.
In the announcement that I said,
Man, you cannot hear her.
is this housing choice voucher holders, public housing voucher holders, rent protection voucher holders, included with public housing, and all of these benefits like straight down the whole board, all in addition to public housing.
And the answer is yes. What we've done is we merged it. In fact, Kenyatta wanted to go out with it. I said, no, wait, because yes, it's everywhere. That's what makes this different. Nowhere else in the country they have.
Stephen, have we identified and lined up prospective residents to get ready for this? Put the financial piece in and
Of course
apparatus
not,
piece, but
because it's just talk.
Folk who are potentially ready once we do that, because not only getting ready for this, be prepared for the financial piece, because it's going to take a while to get the house, get the resources put it in place, take advantage of the financial opportunity. Have you done that?
Yes. So I can tell you, we almost had to hire an outside company when the press release went out. Our public house, we had about 200 and something folks just calling in. We almost had to hire a dedicated person. So what we work with Kenyatta, what we're going to be able to do, we're going to be able to identify and quantify how many public housing residents today, what they call the mortgage, I used to be in the mortgage business, that are mortgage ready today, those that will be mortgage ready in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. This is a big deal. Now, why would you like to say when these folks come to the table and know what we're doing? We're actually providing them a pipeline of business. And so that's why I made these demands. I said, like you were telling me, let's stop having these developers come in and making millions, and we put the the so-called Bill Johnson thing. If you're going to win a bid to develop, then you're going to have to take a portion of your proceeds and invest in the community and an economic job. Well, when I was negotiating with Bank of America and Truist and all them, I was like, look, we're providing future revenue pipeline revenue to the business. You get it, you're in the business. And I said, that's why we're negotiating. You guys got it. We're not.
This guy sounds like a
fool.
fool.
So yes, Kenyatta and I, we're going to be quantifying people who will be ready. But this is going to take a lot. We're bringing in a mortgage coordinator who's going to stand up this program. We're going to have a series of meetings. We're going to have meetings with our financials, our mortgage partners and banks. We're going to have another series meeting with our government partners, which will be Susan Dewey, Virginia Union, Ryan Horn, the state, and the city. Then we're going to have another set of group meetings with just housing council. Yes, to your point, we believe we can begin can quantify. We do have right now some public housing residents who really shouldn't be in public housing. And TI has already looked in the database, but they're really up to the top. Those folks are mortgage already. Then we've also identified, well, on the real estate, we have in 3 of our sites now, we have homeownership units ready. Last I'm going to say is that, yes, the mayor declared that we and the city council, we're in a housing crisis, affordable housing crisis. We did. But the other thing is that I've identified a partner that's a private sector investor who's going to come to the table on the supply side of this, right? I've identified a private sector partner that has $50 to $100 million in investment to go out to partner with the RDC to go out and to acquire properties, both not on the multifamily residential, but on the commercial side, and we will rent to residential. That's exciting, and I told the mayor about that, and he's just like, excited. And that, and those, and we go, so we're going to be in the acquisition business, and then we're in control of what we can do on the supply side. And when we don't make those acquisitions, those properties will sit under the RDC.
I had a question, but that's phenomenal, Pete. And of course, Bank of America being a national company, it's to their benefit to realize their position and take the hold as it continues to expand across the United States. So it's good stuff, dude.
Yeah, and Truist, Thomas Ransom, the brother of the president, he said to me, Steve, Bank of America probably cut a bigger check than us, but and take the branches and help do it. So that's it on that. And you'll be hearing more about it. You'll be more briefings with the board on this, but we're not going to launch it. We're going to take our time and do it right. If you're asking a good question, it'll be later this year. So we're going to have a bunch of series of meetings, and we'll have more. The next item is Ralph Stuckey on the CEO Youth Leadership Academy.
Yes, again, thank you. This is one of our stellar programs. And first, I just want to thank the board. Because when I think about the statement, when you cannot find an opportunity, you must create one. So 3 years ago, you guys charged us with creating opportunities for our young people with summer youth leadership and employment. And so we have been doing that. And we really thank you for the support that you have given us. But more importantly, I know I get a chance to report to you guys regularly, and you, that a boy. But I really don't do anything but shout out your vision and share it with our staff. And those 3 young ladies in the back there, Georgia Harrison, Eliza Stokes, and Wanda Daniels, they make all of these programs with their staff. They make it all happen. So we really want to, I really want to thank them and give them a round of applause for all effort, because what they're going to do here is they're going to leave here tonight, and in the morning they're going to get up and they're going to take a group of kids to Micron to see in terms of technology. Micron is the only chip maker in Virginia. And so they're going to take a group of kids there, and so they're going to share with them. But our Youth Leadership and Employment Academy is really growing. We started in 2021 with 98 students. We were charged to find opportunities for students for leadership, to help them improve in terms of life skills, pre-employment, along with those things. And so I think you guys charged us with a month to pull that program together. And that group back there really was able to assist us in making that happen. So in 2022, that grew to 147 students. And so we was really excited about the 147 students last year, because it was almost a 50% growth. And we was like, oh man, we're on the road. And then this year it has grown to 223 students. The kids are students age, and we start really early teaching them life skills and getting them ready for employment and connecting them with resources as they continue to grow. And so right now we have kids that we're working with, 8 to 12-year-olds. We have 128 youth in our youth and leadership program that we're working with. 109. And that 13, 18-year-olds, we have 128 students we're working with. You kept hearing one to talk about interns. So we were very fortunate that those students who are going off to college, we were able to employ them as a part of this program, thanks to human resources and finance and the things that they do to make it happen. Priscilla Barty and Jessica Clark, we want to thank them for making it happen. And so just the opportunity, because many of our students, there are no opportunities in the city of Richmond for them to become employed. If you don't know, most of our families average income for many of our families around $12,000 a year. High school completed is around 11th grade, 10th grade for the head of household. So what you will find is around our communities, many of those folks are working in the McDonald's, which would actually provide opportunities for many youth when you go out to the counties and see. So we want to thank you all for that and just really excited about it because what we're doing is we actually have 30 youth in our summer youth leadership and employment program that actually are in STEM programs to actually get certifications this year. Part of that leadership in terms of getting certification. And many of those students will actually go out and visit Mike Run tomorrow. We have a partner who has a relationship that they're serving kids every week on our site with that. So we're really excited about the opportunities of the future. We're really excited about Mr. Nesmith. I keep telling the staff that he has committed to being able to double this program for us with the funding. And so he's working with Dominion, but we just want to keep it out there, the vision that he is going to double this program. In 2 years, 3 years, we're going to have 500 students in this program. We're just putting it in the atmosphere because we believe Mr. Nesmith can do it. We're excited about it.
Sound like Wanda.
So we're excited about our youth in that. Oh, and then so the next part out, the final piece of this is on July 28th, we're going to partner Microsoft as part of our STEM. I don't know if many of you guys have seen our STEM lab at the Calhoun Center as well as at the, we're developing, we have a nice lab getting ready to take off in Wickham Court. And so one of the challenges that we found during the pandemic was our students didn't have access to technology. We was really our students didn't have access to broadband, Wi-Fi, or they didn't have equipment. So we really struggled during that time. So we doubled down, and Mr. Nesmith has expanded that vision for us to provide, actually to close the digital divide in our communities. And so we're really excited about that. And so we actually have quite a few partners. We have Apple at the table. We have Verizon at the table. Now we have Microsoft at the table. And they're going to do a big event on July 28th at the Calhoun Center. And I just want to just think about it now. Thursday night, staff is going to be out at Virginia Union with all those kids going off to college. They're going to get up and come back at 7 o'clock in the morning and get ready for this STEM event. That's how committed the staff is to providing opportunities and resources to the families in our community. So we're really excited about it. We will have Verizon there. We will have Microsoft there. The Richmond Raceway will be there. There's a young man. He's an African-American NASCAR driver at Winston-Salem State University. He will be there. We're trying to pin down his car coming to the site that day at Calhoun Center, as well as a pace car. Verizon said they will be bringing some of their vehicles to kind of help and expose the kids to 5G, the technology. And so that day, kids will be participating in a lot of Minecraft activities in the gym. We will also have a sneaker design. We will also have fashion design. And all this will be technology. Microsoft is sending us, what do they call? Touch. Microsoft Touch little. Yeah, they're sending us some of those. They're bringing those. We actually have received some about half the size of that screen that will be kids have an opportunity to deal with. We will have 3 or 4 beat making stations where it's big for kids in the gym, so students can come out and just learn how to make beats, how important that is for them. And then just a lot of, we have the Microsoft Black professionals who are coming from DC to talk with kids about opportunities that Microsoft have in the career of technology, as well as Verizon. They're sending their staff from DC. They're coming down as well. So we have a lot of partners who are investing a lot of resources into this day for us. So we're really excited. We plan to have 200 to 300 youth there, volunteers for that day. Of course, Virginia Union has been our partner for years in this STEM realm. They will be there. They will be doing a lot. They've always done a lot. Virginia State will be there. We also simulators. They are actually a segue into learning how to drive NASCAR. They will have simulators there so kids can get on and play and have fun with and learn about a career, because NASCAR is a multi-billion-dollar business. Really, really a big business. So we're excited about the technology. We're excited about it. And then actually we're going to get a chance to go over that night over to the raceway and spend some time there and possibly Saturday we might get some tickets to visit, as well as go into the pits, but that's still kind of dicey right now. But we're excited about the opportunity. We're excited about the partnership. Microsoft is committed not just to this event, but long term in helping us develop careers and pathways for young folks in technology. So come out. The event is going to be from 11 to 3. I think Mr. Nesbitt is on the podium for 2 minutes to welcome everybody. We're going to have a run of a show, which is going to be a total of 5 minutes. So you got almost half the whole 5 minutes of the run of the show to say a few words and to actually have the kids get them excited.
Questions about the Leadership Academy or STEM program? That's the 28th at the Calhoun Center at 11 a.m.
11 a.m. 28th at the Calhoun Center.
And thank you for putting all of that together. I do remember that conversation where we gave you a very short time to put that program together, and you all have run with it. And really, thank you very much for putting all of this together for the kids.
Mr. Chairman, the last item on our agenda is something that is very, something that the board has really asked about for a long time. And I know that I think in the last real estate committee meeting, we said that we were going to hopefully have a list of all of the properties that are in our RRHA owned portfolio. We think we're 99.9% there. At the next real estate committee, we will be able to share that with you. We're going to work with our council, George Martin, to look and see where the city may be touching some of those properties, but we will present it. We think we're ready. But most importantly, today is what we have is a presentation by one of the best experts, and I want to give this board really a lot of credit for hiring Tag and Associates prior to my getting here. For those board members that are new, this board engaged Tag Associates to do basically an assessment of our entire organization. You can call it an audit, and they came back with 53 recommendations about how to right the ship here. I remember my final interview. We had to, as finance, we had to make a separate presentation. How would you implement these recommendations? Your timeline, how would you get towards support and all that? But the guy who is the president CEO of that is Jeff Lyons. Jeff has maintained, he's still an advisor to us. Jeff represents probably the biggest housing authorities across the country. He's worked with our COO, Mike Kelly. When he was CEO of many housing authorities, he's considered the most preeminent person around bond financing when it comes to public housing authorities. So he will be doing the charrette around that later. And we're happy that this presentation is looking at the different types of investment strategies. That's what we're going to be looking at, investment strategies, I suppose, what's the highest and best use. And Jeff, if Jeff is there, Jeff is going to come on and make a presentation about, after he's been working on this for many, many years. I think, Jeff, you've been in, I guess, 40 years in the public housing finance and bond financing space. And so I was lucky the board had in its wisdom to bring you on, and I've maintained his advice. So I'll give it to you, Jeff.
Well, thank you for those kind words, Stephen. I appreciate it. It's very much appreciated. I want to say good afternoon to the Board of Commissioners, and it's good to see many of you again, virtually, if not in person, but I was out in person in late June, so not too long ago. And I have with me Tyson Morton, who's a research associate at TAG, who'll be managing the PowerPoint for this discussion. And it's one that came out of a lot of years of research and so forth. We've also, during the late last year, early this year, we worked through a number of development models and put together a white paper for senior leadership at Mr. Nesbitt. And so it lays out development options and a strategy and a formula and a framework. And I want to try and go through that now. And so I think you all have a PowerPoint in front of you. We'll be covering not every slide, but a number of slides, and we're going to start that now if that works for you. So, so yeah, so Tyson, if you could bring on the PowerPoint, and I guess we'll go to the first slide here. So there are basically three major models that one in public housing that we find and encounter for development. And the first one is one that's very common to RRHA, and that's the long-term co-development partner. You can go to the next slide. So it's common at many housing authorities. They can act as a sponsor for a development project, the housing authority, or the housing authority may perform development functions pursuant to an agreement with a co-developer. Generally with a long-term development partner, the developer assumes the majority of pre-development costs. The housing authority commonly shares in the developer fee, somewhere between 25 to 50%, depending on the nature of the project. But typically it's somewhere in the 25% range is a frequent arrangement. But there are modifications to that. Both parties also will typically defer fee. Generally, it's pari passu in the same proportion. That's what they do. Next slide. The comments, basically, scope of the housing authority affiliate is that they generally perform administrative functions. They are the sponsor, and so they will maybe handle relocation, HUD applications, and asset management. They will generally convey land to an ownership entity, and they may provide the project with some debt and equity. Certainly, the land provides its equity, and they oftentimes now, although not always, and certainly not always in Richmond, they hold an interest in the general partnership. So they are part of the controlling management entity. And they can generally negotiate some percentage of cash flow participation and a future buyout of the general partnership and the limited partnership of the overall project at the end of the tax credit. The developer generally does the majority of development tasks. In other words, when in a co-development situation, the developers, you're basically paying for a developer to provide virtually all of the major development tasks like permitting, financing, oversight, scheduling, procuring the general contractor, the financial requirements for guarantees. They generally come in with tax credit experience to give them competitive experience or qualifications to be able to secure low income housing tax credits. And they are the managing member of the ownership entity. They could be, sometimes they exit early. If that's the case, the housing authority can replace them usually after the end of the development period, which is when it goes into occupancy and stabilization. So let's go to the next slide. And folks, just so as I go through this, we can do questions at the end, or you can, interrupt me, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. So this approach generally, has some pros and cons as to its benefits to the housing agency. And also, as you go through pros and cons with each of these different models, I want to sort of caution to say it's not the number of each, it's the content and quality and how it relates to your policies and your objectives of each. So you look at a longer number of pros on the long-term co-development partner, which is what you typically do, is the first for the pros for this is the developer can meet most of the liquidity and net worth requirements for larger projects with high costs, such as the Big Six, and they also contribute their own equity. So this is something that is you have pursued, and it's more common with projects that have the characteristics of the Big Six. They generally can provide significant staffing and technical capacity, and so they're able to handle larger scale developments. They also have generally they're good for projects that have things other than just vertical housing or affordable housing. It's when you want to introduce to a redevelopment market rate or commercial retail projects, and it's not a bad thing to continue to do, especially while RDC builds staffing capacity and development credentials. And then on guarantees, which I think is very important, is the guarantees for most projects are unlimited during the construction of a development. And so during that time, guarantees are the most significant, the risk is the highest, and the ability of a development partner to be able to have the financial wherewithal and background can be very important on very large scale projects of a significant size like the Gilpin. So they provide typically, guarantees during project operations, operating deficit guarantees, tax credit delivery and recapture guarantees, and they also will provide guarantees for construction financing to the lender during the initial development period. The other pro is that on this is that RHA may still retain the land for which it can be reimbursed at closing and annually through a long-term ground lease if you can negotiate something that's worthwhile. Generally, it's through long-term ground lease. You don't get the land back until after the end of the lease period, so that's something to consider. And then also the agency will have relatively low upfront expenses in pre-development in contrast to self-development. In other words, the developer usually provides most of the, in most cases around the country, most of the pre-development costs. I realize also, though, some of your developments that you've done, you end up covering a lot of the pre-development costs. So at Gilpin, you're looking to sort of change that to what is a more typical model for long-term co-developer. The cons is generally the developer is going to take most of the fee. They're going to take most of the net cash flow, and also any capital event proceeds or a larger share during the
this is pre-recorded from
parts of the
July
partnership
19th.
Sold in order to take out equity investors and the rest. And another one is that typically, but not always, while you have the ability to acquire the investors' interest in the project at the end of the compliance period, sometimes a long-term developer will require a significant payment for their interest in the general partnership and control of the project. Oftentimes, we're able to negotiate something better, but that is more prevalent and more likely to occur with a long-term co-developer. So getting control of the project after the compliance period can be challenging. So those are usually very important features or goals for a housing authority that are more challenging under a long-term developer. So that we consider that to be a con. Let's go to the next business model. Next business model is something we call a merchant developer. Not everybody calls it that, but we call it a merchant developer. Go on to the next slide. And a merchant developer is a developer who is a development partner with whom the housing agency engages through pre-development and construction only. In other words, the merchant developer is engaged to actually go build the project. And the arrangement is that they leave when the project is done, allowing the housing authority to be the control and managing member of the project. And so in other words, it's basically ceded to public control when they exit. So what the merchant developer does is that they often provide, depending on the fee, the arrangement, a majority of pre-development costs is usually something you can negotiate, not always, but typically. And generally, because they're not in the long term, and it's a short-term venture, they generally will allow 30 to 50% of the share of the developer fee to go to the housing authority or its affiliate. And in some cases, we've even seen where housing authorities have retained up to 70%, depends on the nature of the project and the other fundamentals and other business terms, but they're all part of negotiation. one key item to know is that typically, if there's deferred developer fee, it's usually done by the housing authority affiliate, because unless all the fee can be paid by the time the project is done, it will typically the housing authority will allocate a portion of its fee to pay off the developer, so that all their fee is paid cash when they leave, and then the fee and then additional fee is of the developer is then conveyed to the housing authority in the way of deferred fee. So that's a common feature of a merchant developer, and that is something to consider. We'll go to the next slide. The next slide basically deals with the common scope, and the common scope is for the housing authority, you have oversight and administration of the project during development. You secure the necessary HUD approvals and board approvals. You approve the relocation plan. You review the developer's designs and schedules and budget, and also the property management arrangement. Remember, you are under this arrangement going to be taking possession of the property. The developer, once they leave, other than for errors and omissions or other failure to form appropriately, is no longer responsible for the development. So you want to make sure that it's built and built well. You may convey land to the ownership entity. You may provide debt or equity. That's a possible role for the housing authority. But remember, you're providing land and debt and equity ultimately to yourself, because you're going to be taking ownership of this project once it's built and occupied. The housing authority or its affiliate and merchant developer each hold a general partnership interest. In most cases, not always, but they do. When they exit, the housing authority becomes the sole member of the general partnership and the controlling member. The merchant developer sometimes is a special limited partner instead of a GP member. So we just point that out. But anyway, they typically leave all ownership or participation roles once the project is done and they've obtained their fee. The housing authority is then left with much less significant guarantee. The authority provides permanent guarantees, generally non-recourse to debt, and only recapture guarantees and operating deficit guarantees for the property going forward post-development. Investor guarantees for recapture generally only occur if you don't manage the property correctly and make sure income qualified households are there. And there's plenty of ways to do that, oftentimes with a private manager or a compliance consultant. And then the operating deficit guarantee is that the project is going to operate and be able to support the operations. And of course, you don't go into it unless the underwriting supports it. Common scope for the merchant developer is they basically secure the financing. They procure the general contractor. They undertake all the basic development functions of permitting, construction oversight, and scheduling. They provide expertise in permitting and procurement of all the necessary, contractors that are necessary. They bring in tax credit experience, and they may contribute funding to the project, but of course it'll come back when they leave. And then the merchant developer typically exits on permanent financing, conversion, or stabilization, as we said. And during this time period, they provide all the performance and completion guarantees during the development period, which I said earlier is when guarantees are the highest and most significant. Are there any questions so far?
Hell no, I don't know about understanding none of it.
Hey, Jeff, if you can speed through and get to the last business model, that would be great. If you can get then now to the self-developed.
just go to the first page and then the pros and cons. We'll leave the rest for everyone else to read.
All right, so we'll go to self-development then. Let's go. So self-development, basically, it leads to the ability to maximize revenue from a project, but it's the highest risk and most time-intensive model for a housing authority. This can be mitigated by engaging technical assistance through development consultants. It also you can also engage an owner's representative to help in terms of overseeing construction. That is what many of our clients do with self-development. And then also the other issue is that you can get an owner's rep to provide pre-development construction services. One of the drawbacks is that generally, as the self-developer, the housing authority is responsible for all pre-development costs. You need to be able to front those costs and cover them. There's a variety of ways we can talk about how to do that, but one thing. So key considerations so let's just go back to key considerations. So key considerations in selecting self-development is the complexity of the project. In other words, projects that are more likely to be like what you do already in modernization and rehabilitation of property is a better fit as opposed to comprehensive new construction on a large scale like Gilpin or a major rehabilitation and reconfiguration such as at a Grace. Like Fay Towers would be something that would likely fit this model because it's a modernization and upgrade. And also the housing agency has to have the ability to be able to provide full guarantees. So it's got to be an uncomplicated project and one for which a lender and investor would be comfortable with. So and then of course the other thing is the project either through because it's subsidized or because the market has to have sufficient market strength, and so that's a major feature as well. So why don't you go on? Let's go to pros and cons. So pros are that the housing agency starts out as the sole general partner and member. There's no buyout from another developer necessary in order to maintain the GP interest. The revenue is all going to the housing agency because it controls the general partner, and revenues from development and permanent financing and cash flow and capital event proceeds are not shared but go to the housing authority. And another key aspect is development fee in most all cases and cash flow in many cases is also considered to be unrestricted money. It's not necessarily restricted by HUD or anybody else, and it can be used to help build liquidity and net worth for future guarantees and undertaking future projects. It's a way in which you can seed future development efforts. It also provides you an ability to obtain developer experience, the ability to go and apply for tax credits, the ability for lenders and investors to get comfortable with the agency or its affiliates tax credit or experience, and in this case, like an RDC. The other thing is you have project control throughout the entire project, and you have the ability to have full control over design, material selection, and the like. You also can, with lender and investor approval, select who manages the property, whether it's you, whether it's a partnership with a private manager or a third-party manager. The cons are that your entity, presumably RDC, has to guarantee the project and be responsible for all guarantees, including the very large performance and completion guarantees, and you're going to need to be able to meet liquidity and net worth requirements to provide those guarantees, and sometimes on multiple projects. which I think you can do, and we can talk about that. Pre-development costs, again, you're going to be responsible. That's a con. Sometimes you can get a line of credit against property you own, and that's the way to fund pre-development, which many developers do. The other one is staff capacity. It is going to require more staff capacity. So either you're going to have direct staff that you currently have, add to your staff, or supplement it with technical assistance providers, which is what many of our clients do. Developer experience, you're going to have to start out by being able to sell yourself as being able to do development. That's why we typically say start with something that's something you already do, an uncomplicated project, similar to a modernization project. And then the other thing is, if you are in fact the managing member, and there's any public housing funds in this whatsoever, you are going to be subject to public housing procurement rules, and you'll have to go through the more rigid and complex process of public bidding where it's necessary, and other solicitation requirements. So that is sort of the three basic business models we have. At the end, we also have, which I think you can look at your leisure, in terms of development business models and the rest. I mean, I realize this is late and the like, so perhaps, Stephen, should we stop now and end this over for general discussion? Okay.
Yes, we will. Mr. Chairman, I'll just say that we gave this presentation at the real estate committee. I wanted the full board to hear it as well. Karen Ebert was here. She told me sidebar she was very impressed with it. So was Councilwoman Robinson. I'm going to have other members of the real estate committee who were not present to get us a separate, including Dan Geckert and some others, so that they'll get this too. And so I just want to report to you.
Any questions?
I'll turn the agenda back over.
Yeah, so just one, kind of a statement and then a question. I'm assuming we're not picking one. We're going to make a decision on a project. Cool. Is there a decision matrix that is useful for us?
Well,
getting asset management, resources available to kind of decide what to use on each project.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you some examples. So, for example, Gilpin Court is a very large project that's going to require substantial investment over a long period of time. It's going to be done in multiple phases. It's going to require a capability of commercial retail and other types of uses that are outside of a typical skill set for a public housing agency. And so the scale of that, to me, would be one you'd say, well, I think we want to have, a co-development partner. We want to negotiate as best we can and make sure that we get the opportunity, maybe at the end of the finance period or some future time, to have participation. And a lot of effort went into drafting the RFP for that developer, who ultimately you will negotiate and be selected to ensure that the housing authority gets better participation terms than you have with your other developments that you've done in the past. But that would be a skill set that you would want a long-term co-development partner, because it's going to take a long time. It's a large redevelopment. A project like Grace is one which you've acquired, and in that case, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. There's a great deal of investment of time and expertise on a comprehensive rehab that's going to take place. But it's not a long-term multi-phase project. So that's one that would probably be a better fit for a merchant developer type of selection, where you engage a developer to come in, renovate, do the work, take all the risk for a fee, and then and when the project is done and done properly, and if you've signed off on it, they exit and you take over as the owner and operator of the property. I referenced Fay Towers as a potential self-development candidate. where that one is existing units. They're going to be modernized and upgraded. There's no demolition, major reconfiguration involved. That one would be probably a good place to think about starting in terms of self-development. In each one of these cases, they are
takes less to rehab than 400 East Grace.
Development projects that have characteristics that fit one or the other.
Wow.
And, we can certainly work on other ways to try and lay that out and why that would make sense for you. But that, I hope that helps answer your question, Commissioner.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. I know that you all had this presentation in the real estate committee meeting too, so I appreciate the second presentation and the opportunity for other real estate committee members to join the presentation too. I think just a couple of things that I would say that we probably need to have the real estate committee work on is, and I think that it sounds like they already are working on this, is an asset management strategy. So take those assets that we have, as you're determining what the highest and best use is, and how we're going to start laying those out so we have a resource plan, so we know which type of development that we can choose for each one to get things happening as quickly as we can. But combining that with a community benefit model, city council has done that with their economic development plan. They have community benefit agreements with Diamond District. They're going to have one with the City Center project. And I just think for us as a board to outline what it is that we want to see happen for the community development, so that we have, as part of our strategy, the ability to say, here's the value that we're creating for existing residents, for future residents. I don't want us to lose. We have a lot of opportunity with our properties, and right. I don't want to lose sight of the real reason that we're here, that is to provide affordable housing. Sometimes we have to do some other business to subsidize that, but that's our primary focus. Is to make sure
and that's one of the reasons why you want to be in a position where you maximize the benefit of the developer, and also you maximize revenues. Many public housing agencies are generating lots of revenues through the way in which they position their projects, and so this is designed for you to both get maximum quality and support, but also maximize revenue, so you'll have something to invest and do gap funding in the future. So that's I just want to sort of add that a little bit as well as one of the objectives for this.
I agree. Norfolk did that, and they didn't have their benefits outlined very clearly, and they ran into challenge.
Sure.
Compared to the corporation.
I do have one question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Is the agency, are we planning to self-manage those developments, or are we getting a property management company? The reason I ask is I've done RAD at Springfield Housing Authority, and the management company was not a good fit for the agency.
Right. So the answer is that would be under self-development. We haven't made that decision, but that will be one of the options that we consider.
It's something we've been talking about. One of those things that's kind of been out there for a while is that we want to create a property management. I think that's something that the staff is going to have to come back to us and say, can we, and how would it function within our developments? We need to see a business model. Yep.
I think one other comment. I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I think is being good stewards and also looking at the trajectory that we're headed in. There are a lot of positive things. Our first mandate is to provide public housing, but I think opportunities such as the inclusions that TAG's bringing to us, understanding what we have in our portfolio, I think we're also going to be on the cusp of having opportunities to create economic development for our residents as well. Because I think the old model is just create housing for poor minorities. That's not what we're going to do. We have an opportunity to take it a step further, looking at how we put our hands to the plow and then create opportunities such as Jackson, where we can not only house people, but we can allow for development for self-employed individuals, jobs for folks. I think that's the next stretch. Well, absolutely.
Yeah, so commissioners, this was really, I know, a lot of information that we moved through at a very high level. But, we hope to be able to come back as we look at individual properties and have a more detailed discussion, but we wanted to be able to
I
provide
need
this.
your plug so I can plug this phone up.
I think you're, Mr. Hines, you want to finish your comment? Okay.
Yeah, so we're, sorry, go ahead. You would come back.
Okay, that sounds good. We appreciate that. Thank you for the presentation and for all the hard work you went into this. Thank you to the commissioners for your input on this as well. We're going to move on to our committee updates. I think we probably got most of the real estate just now with Commissioner Johnson or Stephen. I'm not sure since Daryl's not here.
Yeah. So if you go to in your packet and look at the Daryl's not here, we're dealing with trying to put out a fire with our good friend Michaels again. So that's what's going on there. But if you go to your real estate within your packet, you see the real estate committee update. What we've done there each time is wherever you see something in purple, I would prefer you use red, but it's purple. That is where you see the updates, and that's what we've done that so that you would have to do a bunch of deep reading. So if you look at all the each page 1 through 3, that's where the new information is. So, Mr. Chair, I would ask you that if anyone has any questions about those purple updates. If not, we can move to
Yeah, are there any questions out there? It's further back.
So if we look at the real estate, so the real estate community update, go into each paragraph. The update is in purple. That's how we did it during the real estate committee meeting. Same thing, because nothing has changed. It's in black.
So it must have just got printed in black and white.
You have mine.
Well, he has purple. It was at the real estate committee at our meeting that report was purple.
Yeah, but I'm saying he
Yeah,
has purple. I've got purple. You can take my purple. Oh, okay. Oh, this was purple. There's purple right there.
It's not a lot. It's
Purple. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Now you see it.
That's the new information.
Oh, yeah. No. Okay. On each Roman numeral, if you see there's language, if you see a sentence in purple, that is the update on that particular project. If you do not see purple language, that means there's no new updates at all.
Move on to administration and finance.
That would be me. I'm Katrina Wolfram. We haven't met. I actually started out as the financial consultant with NK, and then I got promoted to VP of Finance. And then I got promoted to CFO, so I don't know where I'm going next. I don't know. Are you leaving? Am I taking you?
He's taking my job, right?
But it's been a pleasure working with Steve Nesbitt, and the whole entire crew has been just amazing to me since I've been on board. So I would like to say thank you and kudos to the board for doing things outside the box. And I think that you guys are in the right direction for where you needed to go with home ownership, doing new developments, doing all kinds of new things. It's a good way to go, and I think you're on the right track, definitely. Not that my opinion matters, but I do think that you are doing a great job. And I have been in front of boards before as a CEO, and the last board that I had was not passionate or concerned about where we were going. and what we were doing. So I think it's very important that you have a board that is very compassionate and kind to the people that we serve and trying to close gaps between residents and the employees, because we need to hear from residents. You know, that's what we're here for. So it's very important that you have a very active board. And that's kudos to you guys. I would like to say with the financials, and I apologize if I was supposed to put it in your packet and didn't. I guess I thought it was going in there from finance, so I apologize. So nobody got a financial statement. So I'm just going to say that we ended the month of June with a month-end date, 906,000 to the good. And that includes a deduction from the utility company of 500,000 for Stonewall. I haven't seen the actual agreement as to why we got that deduction, but we will take any credit from utilities we can get. So I'm not going to question that a whole lot. Month to date, we ended at 258,000. And then fiscal year to date, we have 7.3 million in actual, and then the budget is 14 million. We are working to revitalize the capital fund grant to kind of get it up to speed with some draws. And once we make those draws happen, I think we're going to be sitting a lot better. And I know in order to do everything you guys are wanting to do, it takes money. So it's definitely important to get these grants correct and get them drawn down and spend them the way we're supposed to. As far as the vacancies and employment, we have 26 vacancies. One of them is CFO and VP of Finance. So I know we're diligently looking for those two replacements because we need more people in finance, especially if we're going in different directions. So it's very important. We had a hiring event on July 14th where there was 10 candidates that were received. Is there anything that you want to expand on those 10 candidates of where they're going to be working?
So yes, so with the 10 candidates that we received from the hiring event last Friday, we are planning on extending offers to all of those candidates. Those candidates will be working in our maintenance department as maintenance specialists, senior maintenance specialists in our HCVP and tenant selection office. So we definitely want to fill those vacancies, which we have the highest numbers of vacancies in the agencies at this time. And even though we didn't have a high number of candidates for that event, we're going to take all 10 because they were so excited about joining and being employed at the agency. We're going to just interview them and extend offers to all of them.
And I will say that across the country, it's been a hardship for housing authorities to find people and retain people. It's not just this agency, it's across the country, especially with qualified maintenance technicians. They're extremely hard to find now. And I had the same trouble at my housing authority trying to, someone retired, trying to replace a plumber or a technician that's got that knowledge of how to actually, repair a lot of the equipment. So it's a challenge, and we're not alone in experiencing that challenge.
I'd like to add, and so the last thing I want to mention, Commissioner Blunt, you'll hear more about this on your committee, is that we have retained the services of Nab McKay. Everyone knows well their expertise in accounting and finance. We will be transforming how we do our drawdowns with respect to our grant dollars. In the past, our finance and accounting and finance department did what they need to do. And separately, our capital fund, and that is on the real estate side, they were doing what they need to do on drawdowns with respect to capital improvements. But they were never synced up. And I know that many of you may not believe this. And this goes, I don't know anything about it, but this goes back to when Stacy was here. Not being done. When Darryl came here, he was like, there's a big disconnect. And so finally, tomorrow we'll be getting a presentation about reforming that process. We'll come back to you first, Commissioner Blunt, to your committee, and give you a debriefing on that. And then we'll come to the full committee. But it's really important because We were on the phone with HUD earlier this month, and woman that was saying, Nesman, we see that, the way in which you're drawing down, that is not at the rate that you should. Guess what? You're going to lose that money. And that's just utterly ridiculous that we weren't drawing down for a long time, because that's like money that's just sitting there, right? But, and the way we were doing it just wasn't coordinated. But the good news is we're going to come with a different set of reforms around that, and that appreciation will come to your committee and bring it to the board.
Sometimes it's the fault of HUD too, because they approved some things and it was done a certain way and it was okay with HUD, but yet not for regulation. So even HUD can be communicating things improperly. It's not staff's fault. Sometimes the HUD staff here are a little different than Missouri. I mean, they're all different.
Thank you, Ms. Wolfram, and welcome. Sorry, Commissioner Lewis. Yeah, go ahead.
No.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Black. Okay, I'm sorry.
Charles, wanted to use the presentation that you gave us in our committee that I'm waiting for.
I don't know if I'm gonna give it at this board meeting, but.
I asked you Monday, you said yes.
Get up and do it this month.
Okay.
It's a pretty exciting thing.
Exciting.
It is exciting.
All right, I'll start.
Stand up the way you do it. Your performance looks better.
Great
Okay.
job Monday, let's see.
All right, I'll start with, the first item and then we do, Tiana, do you have a couple of those? So we had our property management and assisted housing committee meeting on July 13th. Our first item of discussion was obviously lease enforcement. We went over the numbers and activities that we reviewed earlier. The next item for discussion, we had a very, very robust discussion on how we're leveraging technology to assist our residents. And the Motorola Ion is the radio that we're using to do that. Our staff will be using this to assist with our work order management process. Once fully operational, we will have the capabilities to close work orders out on site, assign work orders via the mobile radio, post materials to the work orders, and take before and after photos of the completed work. I call it an Android work order device on steroids. It will improve our efficiency and effectiveness, in addition to increasing accountability, not only to our team, but to our residents as well. It will totally eliminate the need for paperwork orders. Yana is actually passing out a spec sheet of the Motorola Ion. We are the only housing authority in Virginia that uses this device, and one of only two on the East Coast that will be using it. We are the only housing authority in Virginia that is currently using this device, and one of only two on the East Coast. Once fully operational, and our goal is by October 1, it will be an enormous increase in what we do for our residents as far as our work. But what I'll do now, I will give you guys a brief demonstration. So this is the radio. This is a $2,500 device. The size of the vehicle, this is the only thing that our guys are having. They're extremely nervous about losing. Because if you lose this, you got it. One of the things that they'll be able to do, they'll be able to assign work orders staff based on their capability. So they'll be able to get on their device, they'll have an area that says, I work. They'll be able to come in and look at the work orders that he's working on based on his capabilities, get the material, and he'll be able to go to handle it. He'll have 15 work orders and hopefully it's, so the first thing he's gonna do, he's gonna take a look at the work order that he has. And he's gonna time himself in. You'll be able to time yourself, and the maintenance supervisor will be able to determine how long it's taking Charles, how long it's taking Stephen to do a work. If Stephen is on a work order to replace a door handle, goes in at 1 o'clock, comes out at 2 o'clock, we got a problem. So he's gonna time himself in, and when he times himself in, it's gonna have the date and the time that he introduced started. I'll let everyone see. Next, he's gonna go and look at the material that he's gonna need to complete that work order. Whether it's a door handle, whether it's a doorknob, whether it's a closet, and he's gonna post that on the work order. Very quick, but that material will be actually posted on that work order. This is extremely important. Now Charles and Steve, they're going to be able to go and take a photograph of the work order that they're working on. So we're going to use this method. We're going to take a photograph. We're going to save that. And so now we have a photograph of that work order. Exactly what he encountered when he got to that unit. He's going to go in and he's going to do his magic. He's going to make that repair. Now he's going to take another photograph of that computer. Stephen has taken, we put another tile on Stephen. Taking that photograph. Save that. So if you look, now we have before and after photographs of that work. So we can upload this to Yardi. So if I get a call from any other commissioner, Stephen, anybody, we're able to look at it. It'll tell you exactly what material you and we'll have a photograph. Going to close out his work order. Going to make a determination whether it was a tenant responsibility or not. We'll put his check notes in. And so now we have his timeout. We have a timeout. So we have the time that you started, the time that you completed, pictures before and after, and the material. So he's going to go and he's going to sync his radio. And once he syncs that radio, this should go from 2 to 3. You guys just heard that was a work order. You'll be able to do all of this on site. The paperwork orders will be eliminated. Nothing will be lost. Everything will be right here. Will be uploaded right on the prayer document. If anyone any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say this is important because, as you know, sometimes residents won't even put in a work order. Yeah. They'll complain and say that they don't come. Well, this is one way maybe to look at this in real time. Also, this is a management tool. I've seen it on occasions when I've been out there in the community and I've gone to in a unit and I'm like, hey, Charles, what's going on? And he said, well, let me look. Well, what happened was Charles's team member went out in the unit they did something, but they didn't do 100%. They didn't close out the work order. You know, I've seen this with you. So this is a management tool also to make sure that if you go in, you've got to close out that order. And, you know, you and I have gone in there, like, what are you guys doing? You can't go and do half of them. You got to complete the whole, and, you know, you've given me calls about this, you know. So this is a great management tool.
Work order process.
Charles, once he's done that first order for replacing the door on or whatever time, and is he automatically uplifted another job or go to after that?
So what he'll have,
he punches in for lunch.
if you take a look at that, it says my work order. So all of the work orders that he's working on are assigned by team.
Will you be providing training for your guys on this? Because this is not somewhat about.
All of our guys will go through complete training before we put this out fully, and we're trying to have this done.
So what happens if a resident doesn't want?
Can't hear you, Katrina.
What happens if a resident says, I don't want to take any photos in my unit?
Well, that's a great question. We haven't encountered that, but from what I'm understanding, because we are the housing authority, we own the property, are able to take photographs of the work.
I feel that's gonna cause a lot of problems because if I live somewhere whether you own it or not, I don't want photos taken. I think that should be respected. And I feel like that's gonna be a big issue. Someone pull out, I come in your home, I pull out something and take a picture of something. You know, I think that's gonna be a big issue. People taking photos, and then would the people be like, if someone comes to my home and take something, can I ask to see what you took a picture of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
See, we have to educate our residents on that's gonna, that's gonna be a big thing.
A lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we can discuss.
He said, well, shit, since it's our property, we can do that.
Probably also inform RTO and city council about this new process, how it's going to work, and also let folks know that this is also a protection for the tenants so that if the work doesn't get performed right, there is documentation that's wrong. We'll certainly need some outreach to.
What you don't want people to stop calling in work orders, because if I have a leak, I don't want to call it in because they're gonna come take pictures. That can flood the whole road. So you don't want it because I know they're gonna come take a picture or something. I don't want people to not call it in because they don't want to photograph it. And then you don't want to seem like you've been a bully, or we can call legal and you have to do it. You know, because your home supposed to be your sanctuary. If you're not home and comfortable nowhere else, home supposed to be there. I wouldn't have a problem personally because I want my stuff done right, but you have a lot. I can see the backlash of photos being taken into luncheon.
That's a very good point. I think that's important that we work through.
I had a question. I just wanted to make a comment when it's appropriate.
Commissioner Blunt is speaking right now. I don't think your microphone was turned on. Give us just 1 second, then we'll get to
That was something that I hadn't considered, but in terms of privacy, that is an issue. But if we're talking about abating a leak that a resident has complained about, and it's something that has to be abated that night because that's considered an emergency or heating or something like that. Having the picture taken of where the leak was, as opposed to personal items, people, things like that. One of the ways that can probably have a workaround and still keep those rules is if the person who is there, if they say, well, I don't want you to take a picture, I'll sign something that says you completed the work. Because you can still keep the rules to have the accountability, but at the same time, if a person insists on not taking a picture, then they should be accountable for signing that the work was done. Otherwise, they may end up getting charged for that because the leak will still have to be abated and fixed, regardless of whether they want a picture taken. But it has to be completed. And if they're going to invest in ways to help the residents get this done, then if the resident doesn't want a picture thinking they have to have a way to prove that the work is done so they can get their work done. You know what I'm saying? And not keep maintenance from doing their job. Yes. But I was about to ask a question. What else now?
We'll go to Commissioner Pitchford and then
Yes,
Commissioner Pitchford.
Yes, like, I commend, Commissioner, Diane, because I always get her name wrong, last name wrong. And I understand where she's coming from, and I understand I understand both sides because, work orders have been called in and said they have been called in, no tracking number, no nothing, and maintenance work people had to come out and check behind the maintenance people and didn't see it, but and then sometimes the orders might be longer than 21 days, and I can understand how a resident also might feel intimidated, but I like this idea because I just want to know. I don't think that they're going to be taking a picture of the whole house. It's just my understanding. They're supposed to be just taking a picture of the uh, the area that is supposed to be, um, that's supposed to be called in with the work order. And y'all, Mr. Williams or whoever can correct me if I'm wrong. And I do like the what Mrs. Commissioner Blunt made. If they don't want the picture, at least have that option for them to sign it that the work was completed and they were satisfied. So I really like both perspectives, and I did ask about the insurance in that, and I did ask for a report that um, in three months to see how this is improving and adding value to what we're trying to do, because we are trying to be efficient. We are trying to keep up with what HUD regulations are. And I did read something saying that HUD, they will be taking pictures. So we are in line with that from the HUD perspective. So I'm very proud of what's going on, but I do sympathize, empathize with my commissioners, and I'm lined up with them, to make sure that privacy is not an issue, but also to make sure that our maintenance people are not accused of stealing, because that has been said that maintenance have came in and took stuff. Meaning, I know that this won't prevent that if it does, but at least they have proof that this is what they fixed. This is the time they was in there, and this is the time they left, and you can kind of judge in between that. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Go ahead, Commissioner Ford.
Okay, so back to loving this system, Charles. My other question, which I forgot to answer tonight. So remember you were saying, what was it you were talking about the turnaround time, the turnover of when people move out of apartments, so that we can make other apartments available to other people, that turnaround time. When we hire the contractors, like say there was some impacts, we didn't have the capacity to move them fast enough, would this device also be used for something like that, to find out how fast they're working, if they're showing up when they say they're supposed to be, and getting it done, and finding out the capacity and how long it actually takes? I've seen on the commissioner's tour about some of these apartments, how they were left.
You'll be able to put a vacancy ticket in.
Okay, so that's another reason for it to be used, because it's got a lot of great capabilities. I'll actually let me operate it, and it's really easy. So I know if I can do it with the training, I know the maintenance. Pretty awesome. Thank you for presenting that to the board.
And the only photograph that we would send is a photograph of the repair.
The issue.
And cabinet, door.
They already said they was gonna use maintenance to.
So
inspect people's
finance
house,
administration and
snitch
property
on them,
management that we just got
get
there?
them
Okay.
evicted. Now they're gonna take pictures.
There was in the administration class, that could get an IT report, but she's not here and it wasn't part of the summit. So I just want to let you know, we did get an IT report. They are moving along great. That's all I'm going to say for now because I don't have to.
Thank you.
So next time we'll do our summit.
The minority contracting, section 3.
Brooks. Good evening, everyone. I promise I'll keep it short. In our committee meeting, discussed the MBE policy that is still currently being drafted at this point. We're going through the legal review process. I'm speaking to Mr. Martin and also our associate counsel to move forward with that. And as we're going along with this, we'll keep you all updated. But this is just keep in mind, like drafting the policy, making sure that all of the rules and regulations are recognized and acknowledged. Process forward, just to let everyone know. And I apologize for not having it as a part of documents that giving share with y'all this evening. But regarding the monthly report for our contractor payments to minority businesses and section 3 businesses, there has I would like to make note that between June and July's reports, there was we made some adjustments as far as the data that was being captured that we based our percentages off of. So those totals will look very different as far as where we are meeting our goals the year to date. The percentages might seem pretty low, but the dollar amounts have not changed. Just want to make that clear. For example, for minority contractor payments in the month of ending June 30th, our total amount paid was $3.85 billion, and that gets us to a little over 20% of our goal of 30%. So we're about 9.5 percentage points off of achieving that goal. We still have a few months left in this fiscal year, and we have some projects coming down the pipeline and very well. I can see us very much meeting our goals as far as minority contractor engagement, as far as our payments go. For women-owned businesses, contractor payments, our agency goal is 10%. We have so far actually surpassed that at nearly 12%. The total amount spent thus far is $2.24 billion. Compared to fiscal year 2022, we're a little less than we were in that fiscal year. However, we are still very much on track to exceed our goals for women businesses. For Section 3 businesses, as far as the dollar amount goes, we've exceeded already what we had in fiscal year 2022. We're at 1.34 million compared to about 1.2 in the previous fiscal year. And our total goal is for 10%, or about 1.8 million. So we're about a little over $500,000 away from that. But again, with a few more months here, and also some other projects coming down the pipeline, I can also see us moving towards seeking that 10% participation rate as well. As far as some of the other things that were discussed, I know within the admin and finance committee meeting, I talked a little bit about the procurements that have been happening. We have some things that are coming down the pipeline. There's some things currently in the evaluation process. But as far as completed procurements, not much has changed since between June and July. We have reviewed contracts, 2 of which are resolutions. That is about all I have, aside from also reiterating how awesome this demo event is going to be that we held Friday after next. And I encourage you all to attend. I'm trying to touch myself. That is about all that we discussed in our
That's true. Yeah. So, Commissioner Parker, I want to make sure that by our next Section 3 committee member, I'm going to push to make sure we're working with George Martin that we present to you what we think will be a new policy. And we really push on that. Like, and some of the other questions you asked in terms of peeling back the onion, some of those things. Make sure we do that as well. That's pretty important. Just with plans. Yeah, and then we also talk a lot about bringing in a compliance person, right? And I've been talking about that around 6 months. And finally, that George is here now. George is we pay you a lot of money. You're working on that compliance position. So
I think I have a math.
Okay. So George is working on the position description for that compliance person, and of course it's enterprise compliance, but there's also compliance as to contract vendors to ensure that if they're meeting their commitments, protect the minority in Section 3, compliance to make sure that in accounting and finance, we've missing some of the compliance stuff with Wilma. Making sure that in all across the board, some of our programs. So I said a while back it was an existential threat. I do believe we're going to do that, and we're going to work hard. Hopefully by the end of, hopefully sometime by next month, we will have. We'll do it now. Here's the one thing on that, and that is between now and October, we don't have a position. It's not budgeted, but we may have an interim solution between now and when our budget time comes in October, but then we have to advertise for the rest. But I think George and I may come up with a solution on that. I would believe
Great.
That's good to hear, Stephen. But compliance is not one of the things I'm keen on. But I understand that one of the bonds that paid us. Okay. That's Chamberlain and Senior Home Project there.
Really? Okay.
That man is in developers in some hot water, and I don't think we've received what we have been promised. These are some of the things that they can apply a compliance officer order. That is where our bottom line is the revenue. It's depending on coming into the door.
Which one is that?
It's at Chamberlain and the school.
That's a new development, right?
Yes.
Thanks.
Don't eat those blinds. Right in your eyes.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you all very much. We will move on to our resolutions now, which I believe all came out of committee unanimously. Pretty quick. Number one, I believe came through your committee, Mr. Johnson, for some changes to the master development agreement for Creighton. Should have copies of all of these resolutions. Are there any questions about that resolution? Make a couple of things happen.
Just a question. Were you able to make the adjustments on the language?
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, this is the easy one.
All right, well, having come from a committee, it doesn't need a second, so it is before us. Any discussion on this? Any comment from the public? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
You? I think that's in favor. Okay, thank you. All right, that's number one. Number two, janitorial services, renewal of a contract. Brooks to
Yes, sure. I will. So yes, for resolution 2, we are seeking to exercise the fourth and final option to renew our janitorial services for the administrative buildings. Um, 1812 Brook Road and the county center. Before that, it was 901. For the final renewal option, in the amount of $139,070, with the contract $607,000. We recommend that we adopt this resolution that authorizes the domestic this final 1-year renewal option.
Any discussion on?
Did you say, Mr. Brooks, did you say 12 months?
Yes, sir.
Right, thank you. This is the final renewal option, so we'll have to go back out the bid for this one next year.
Okay.
All right, having come from a committee, it doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion on resolution 2? Comment from the public? Motion being before us, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That one passes. All right, resolution number 3, for J&G Workforce Development.
Yes, sir. This resolution is to exercise one additional 1-year option for location consulting services with J&G Workforce Development. We awarded this contract in September of last year for relocation planning for the Transformation Creek Court and residents. This contract was for initially a 1-year term with one additional 1-year renewal option. This resolution is to exercise that option in the amount of $191,550,000, with the total amount of the contract not to exceed $380,100.
Any questions for Mr. Brooks on resolution number 3? Once again, having come from a committee, doesn't require a second, so it's before us. Any discussion on the motion? Comments from the public? Question before us, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposition? All right, that motion also passed. Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Thank you for everyone who got those. We have come to the point in the meeting to just open the floor. If there's anything that any commissioners have that they'd like to speak on.
Yeah, Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chair, I'd like to, it's a little off on what I normally talk about, but I see about 100,000 people talk about the other day having overdoses and opioids and things of that nature. And I'd like to see if it's possible that we could do something as far as having some type of training for our people. And I'm glad to see Charles here too, because here, the Richmond area is not immune to it. 6-6 area is definitely not immune to what's happening out there with people having drug overdoses and things of that nature. I would certainly like to see us consider doing a blood drive at the Calhoun Center and having people come in and give blood, because certainly that's what's going to give life to these people. Many times when you end up in the hospital, a lot of our people end up in the hospital. I would like to see if there's an opportunity we could do a blood drive, maybe have a CPR class or something, but definitely have some type of training on opioids. That's where I am.
Great. And we did
Let me share.
Narcan a few months ago.
Yeah.
I consider sure. So many things on my plate. We have not been able to reconvene. I convened a meeting with all city services. And did it in coordination with Reggie Gordon, who has since retired from the city. He has so much of those city services. He and I were talking to Mayor Cat meeting. Look, I want to convene a specific meeting around drug overdose.
Still so stupid, man. Just meeting, just talking all the time.
Manages our 6 healthcare centers.
Never any action.
there's going to be
That's really
specifically
the work
focused on the
for these people. Like
light energy,
meetings.
light ideas, but I have to say, I just haven't had the time to read that effort, but it's something that,
And certainly with the CPR and the being able to do first aid on people, you can save a life.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are getting people shot almost every night in our community. Sometimes just the fact that you know CPR or you know something about saving a life will certainly help. So we were able to give a class and open it up to everybody in the big city in that class. I think it would be very beneficial to our community.
yeah, the city's health districts they're actually supplying that free training. So,
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Carson.
Anybody else?
Since Jackie Salam is there, if you would like to know what the IT report was, quick synopsis, because it was a very short report, if you'd like to ask us.
Ms. Hicks, if you can give us a quick update on IT that you gave finance.
Most definitely. Good evening, everyone, commissioners and staff. You went on before I could unmute, so that's okay. A brief summary from the IT report. We reviewed the help desk, dark trace, and quarterly phishing stats. The results from the phishing test were excellent. The phishing test sent out 212 emails, and no one clicked or forwarded the email. The dual application, which we use for virtual network for VPN access, it was integrated with Darktrace, giving us another layer of protection from hackers. The Know Before Security Awareness Training Campaign for staff began today. Our first line of defense against attacks is our staff. Now that IT has filled the junior IT analyst position, IT will begin installing the productivity tracking software called Verito on staff's laptops. And that was it, the summary for the IT department.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Hicks. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have the need for a closed session this evening. So I believe Commissioner.
I move that we go into a closed meeting to discuss the performance of an RRHA employee as permitted by section 2.2-7, dash 37-1, 1A1 of Virginia Freedom of Information.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded, and just to make note to everyone, if there is any members of the public that are here, I do not anticipate there will be any action taken after this session discussion. So we will adjourn the meeting as soon as if anybody feels like they have to stick around. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So we will go into closed session now and just ask everybody to leave, and we'll stop recording.